Welcome to April's Garage, and not a news flash, the ID Buzz still sucks. It's still not good, and now we have the numbers to prove it.
What?
Yeah,
Well, we talked about before how they were really, really slow sellers. Like they were neck and neck for being terrible sellers with the Charger EV.
Which is bad.
Under like 2,000 for the first quarter of 2025, right?
Yes, exactly. They sold 1,901 in the first quarter of 2025.
It's not because they suck and it's because they're ugly.
Of course it is.
It's because of the price point. It's because they decided to charge $70,000 for a vehicle that should be $40,000. If it was 40 grand and competing with a Tesla Model Y, they'd be selling they'd be selling all of them. They'd be crazy.
Actually looked cool and looked retro with kind of that two-tone in the front. They needed kind of that V that separates the two colors, safari windows. Like this new article from Jalopnik still says the ID Buzz is a brilliant car, brilliant design. They admit that it's overpriced, but like, listen, there's nothing brilliant about the ID Buzz.
It's almost double overpriced, and the range at a little over 200 miles is not going to work. Because real world, you don't get 200 and something miles of range, as we see with the Lyriq and the Model S Plaid and all that stuff. You don't get your estimated range ever.
You're not even supposed to charge it to full capacity.
Right.
So you can't use it just right off the top.
Yes.
Here's the thing. Volkswagen's trying to fix it by doing a two-tone wrap. They're offering it to all dealers, which makes it more expensive. It's about $3,000 for this wrap, and Volkswagen's offering to pay half of that through incentives. Why are you looking at me like I'm crazy?
So instead of lowering the price, giving some kind of lease deal, because dealers are complaining like crazy, like, how are we supposed to sell a $70,000 van with a 200-mile range when people can go buy a Mercedes for that amount of money? They can go buy the nicest Audi for that. If you keep in the Volkswagen family, they can go buy really, really nice Audis for that kind of money. Volkswagen's answer is wrap it.
Wrap it, make it two-tone, nostalgic look. I guess those ones are easier to sell, and the full, there's black, silver, and white that are kind of the full color, which don't lend to the retro vibe as much, I guess, and they just don't sell as well. But like a wrap, seriously, like how long is that gonna last? Like, do wraps actually stand the test of time?
Hold on. So I'm just looking at the local inventory for the ID Buzz here in Wichita, and you're right. So they did have a two-tone orange and white one that is gone. So now all they have left is the silver, the black, and the white, and it does look terrible as a one-tone vehicle.
It looks so bad. It looks like a commercial vehicle, like a delivery truck, perhaps.
Right.
But the prices aren't $70,000.
Right, the price for the fully loaded one. So yeah, this one there, $61,980, $62,495, and they have discounts. So they are offering a $2,500 incentive. It needs to be like a $25,000 incentive. It looks like stacked with like a military, first responders, down payment match, trade assist, which is, basically they're going to take away from your trade-in. $6,000 in savings. But no, if this was $40,000. This is what it's built to be. It's supposed to be a competitor to the Tesla Model Y, and if they had built that and stuck to that price point and not gone for the moon when it comes to money, it makes no sense. Maybe it's because they can't produce these at the volume that they should to be like a lower price car.
So EVs are more expensive to build, it seems like that. And then to kind of come up with the tooling and get your investment back on all the tools that you need to make them is a lot up front, which I feel like they're trying to get back right away.
Can you imagine if they made this a hybrid?
Right.
And it was 30 grand.
Well, the point of them, back in the day, they were so cheap, and I think that's why they were so popular.
If they made them, before Dieselgate. Say this was coming out when the TDI diesels were still a big thing.
Yeah.
And they came out as TDIs 10, 15 years ago, and they were 25, 30 grand. It would have been a sensation. It would have been insane.
That's a big adjective for this.
The electric, the polarizing styling.
Help. Okay. Polarizing style? Did you just say that?
It's polarizing. Yes, it is polarizing, where you have a very strong reaction to it, and I have a very strong positive reaction to it. So that's the definition of polarizing.
What is cool about this? Like, name one thing that looks cool about the design of the ID Buzz.
It's retro and it's futuristic at the same time.
What is it about?
It has a face. It has kind of like a stormtrooper face to it. You look at the white one, see it has sort of eyes. It has a face. It's a happy but kind of mean face at the same time. It's fun.
You're reaching.
It's
trying
fun.
too hard.
It is fun.
Fun? You just call it... I don't know what's wrong with you.
It's nice that automakers are doing things that are fun and different. Now,
Boring.
people can go and buy a boring Toyota Tundra for the same amount of money, speaking of, but not the best idea, it turns out.
No, there's
related, interesting segue here, but also
recall, right?
people making practical choices and saying, oh, I'll get a Tundra, it'll last forever, it'll hold its value. Well, no.
And that's what I've always heard is guys are like, oh, Toyota's great, Toyota Tundra. Because I'm like, oh, American buy American. But like the Toyota Tundra has stood the test of time until now. Something's going on.
So in 2022, they switched over to the new body style Tundra. Gone was the V8, a legend, an amazing V8.
Which, why did they get rid of it if it was so fantastic? Why would you reinvent that?
Because of emissions and wanting to get better fuel economy and all that stuff. Also, that second generation V8, it does have a tendency to really grenade itself when it overheats. So like the blocks warp and the heads warp if you ever overheat like a older Toyota Tundra. Of course, the earlier generations are total tanks. So they have their issues, especially as they're starting to age. But this new twin turbo V6 that's in these had a massive recall. They were grenading. There was like bad castings or bad milling when they were making the engine. So they had to recall all of them, replace like I think 200,000 engines.
They didn't rebuild them, they replaced them. That's crazy.
Right. So the recall says more than 100,000 engines, 2022 and 2023. And there's this one guy that has been stuck. So he had his engine rebuilt and then replaced, and he's still having issues with stalling. And now he's going to the news and just complaining to everyone about how big of a turd his Toyota Tundra is, which is not something you normally hear about from Toyota.
Yeah. Do you believe his story, or is he like a Karen in the automotive world?
Well, I imagine he's gotten really unlucky, and of course there's bad apples in every batch or whatever. But yeah, this one, clearly a lot of problems, but I think Toyota is definitely letting it slip a little bit as far as their legendary quality. They're not caring about as much anymore, trying to be competitive in a price point. And also, you know, these older Toyotas that were built in Japan, they kind of have spread out and they're building these cars all over the world now. So the Tundra's like built in Texas, the Camry's built in Texas.
So the quality control isn't in place.
It's a little harder to do versus when everything was you know, put on a boat in Japan and you know, like the old Toyota Hilux and things. So yeah, a little bit of an issue there.
I would be really upset if I had bought a brand new truck and it started stalling out, like especially in the middle of an intersection or something.
You had an engine rebuilt and then replaced. And then you still have problems after that, which is, I mean, it seems like a slam dunk for a lemon law case, which I'm not sure if that's what this person is doing or not.
I don't know if Canada has that.
Oh, is this in Canada?
Yeah.
That's why they're smoked.
Okay. Wait, so there's just nothing they could do about it?
I don't know about Canada, but that would make sense.
Right.
So, yep, there's a long article about this guy being very, very frustrated with his Tundra, and I feel very, very bad for him. But you can also feel bad for Nissan.
What happened to Nissan?
And Acura.
Yes.
Since they're no longer having a Halo car, which I think is very important.
Each of them?
Each of them, one's saying goodbye to the GTR, the other one's saying goodbye to the NSX.
Wait, they can't. I thought they were coming out with a new NSX.
Well, they're looking at each other down the road. Acura and Nissan have the same problem, where they're struggling to justify the cost of having a Halo sports car at the top, very expensive, slower sales and all that stuff.
Right.
But they're looking at each other from, you know, across the room in Japan in the boardrooms and saying, "Hey,
how you doing?
You want to get together on something special?"
But I feel like they couldn't call it an NSX if they blended it together. They'd have to perform and put out a new Halo car.
Well, that's the thing. So the Nissan GTR front engine, twin turbo V6.
Like rough.
The NSX's mid-engine was a hybrid.
Sexy. Different cars.
Engine in the back, totally different cars. But we saw the huge success of the Corvette going from front engine of the C7 to the C8. So people wouldn't complain very much if there was sort of a Nissan GTR engine in a mid-engine platform, and Honda could still put their Honda engine in that same platform if they do a new mid-engine. So it could definitely be a thing. So yeah, Nissan execs are saying that working together with Acura to do a new Halo car could work, and that could be pretty amazing, or it could be terrible, like the second coming of the Toyota Supra, or I guess it'd be the Mark V Toyota Supra. But the first Supra in 20 years was a partnership with a BMW, and everybody hated it. So that's the thing where your Supra is the same engine as a BMW Z4. It's a BMW engine. It's not a Toyota engine.
Right.
And anyway.
That's what I'm saying. Do you cross the streams and piss everyone off, or do you just completely put out a new Halo car?
Crossing the streams.
Yep.
Interesting. Well, with Toyota, everybody was mad because they go from Toyota to Germany to BMW. They got the BMW engine. It's basically a BMW car. So what about this is Toyota?
Right.
And that's what everybody's complaining about. BMW people love their BMWs. They love their exploding twin turbo. Is N63s? Am I calling it right, Jake? Whatever they call these things.
That's the twin turbo V8, worst engine they've ever made.
No, that's the worst engine. The N63. Yes.
Jake knows.
So what's the 135 engine? The
N54.
N54. There it is. Yes.
So if
Kaboom.
if Nissan and Acura paired up, what engine do you think? What kind of car should it be for their Halo car? Should it be electric? Should it be hybrid or old school?
It would be
internal combustion?
wonderful if they did manual transmission. Twin turbo V6s would be okay, but V8s would be wonderful
yes.
if they brought that back where nobody else is doing it right now. But I imagine they won't.
Right.
I mean, the Civic Type R is so great with that transmission, that manual transmission they have in it is so wonderful, and they're still selling for over MSRP.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a following there. And Ferrari is even looking back and saying, hey, maybe we should make some gated manual cars again because people seem to love them. They sell for huge money. Porsche has obviously pulled back and said, okay, we'll keep making manual cars for a very long time. So Japanese manual gearboxes are... Oh. Wait, why did I do that? Wait, I was holding a gear shifter and going...
I'm so worried.
What?
What does that mean?
I don't know.
What does it mean?
I don't know.
And then I feel like you were looking at Jake too.
Let's end the video. Let's end the video right now.
I'm sorry. Thank you for watching.
Why? I was grabbing the shifter and going, oh.
Because that's how much you love manuals. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
I'd suck a dick for a Japanese mid-engine stick again.